In 1978, a woman in Ludhiana started churning ice cream in her backyard with just rupees 20,000. Her neighbors loved it, her friends recommended it. And soon enough, the local businessmen like Brijmohan Munjal of Hero Motorcorp were saying, Rajni, you've introduced Ludhiana to good food. Fast forward to today, and that backyard ice cream business has become a rupees 10,000 crore empire. Her biscuits are in 500,000 stores across India. Her burger buns feed millions of Indians at McDonald's, Burger King, and Domino's every single day. And 2020, when this company went public, the IPO was oversubscribed by almost 200 times. This is the story of Mrs. Bector's Food Specialties, a company that grew from a backyard kitchen to a 8,300 rupees crore market cap and is well on its way to becoming a rupees 10,000 crore giant. But here is a crazy part. This wasn't built by an MBA. This wasn't built by a businessman. This was built by a housewife who learned baking at Punjab Agriculture University just to pass her time. The question is, in a market dominated by giants like Britannia and Parle, how did Mrs. Bector's Food go from backyards baking to supplying McDonald's? How did a small ice cream seller beat global brands like Baskin-Robbins to become the sole dessert supplier to the North Indian weddings? And most importantly, what are the lessons that we need to learn from this remarkable journey? So this is a story that begins in 1947, the year of unfortunate partition. Rajni Bector was born in Karachi, Pakistan. She was just a little girl when her family, like lakhs of other families, had to leave everything behind and flee to India. They settled in Ludhiana, Punjab. And at the tender age of 17, Rajni was married into a business family. She had 3 sons, and like the most women of her time, her entire world revolved around her home and her children. But when her sons went away to boarding school, something changed. For the first time in years, Rajni had time to think, time to explore, time to ask herself, what do I want to do? And the answer came in form of a baking course at Punjab Agriculture University. You see, Rajni had always been a skilled cook. Her friends and neighbors loved her baking. Her ice creams were the talk of the town. And one fine day, she decided to turn her hobby into a business with the support of her wonderful children, of course. With just 300 rupees, she bought her first oven. She started making ice creams, buns, and biscuits in her backyard. And within weeks, orders started pouring in. Birthday parties, weddings, small celebrations, everyone wanted Rajni's desserts. But here is the problem. As the orders grew, Rajni could not keep up. She was making ice cream by hand. She was baking in a tiny oven, and slowly she started incurring losses. The business was growing, but the money wasn't coming in. And this is when her husband, Rajni Bector, stepped in. He gave her rupees 20,000 and said, let's do this properly. And in 1978, with that 20,000 rupees, Rajni Bector set up a small ice cream manufacturing unit in her backyard. And that is how Cremica was born. Now you might be thinking, okay, great story. How does an ice cream business become a rupees 8,300 crore biscuit and bakery empire? Well, here is where the story gets interesting. The 1980s in India were a very different time. If you wanted dessert, you didn't go to an ice cream parlor. You went to the street corner and bought a gola or a kulfi wrapped in plastic. And behind the sweetness, there were 2 deadly secrets. First, nobody wore gloves. The water in your gola could be coming from a tap or from a toilet. And every time you had a gola, you were gambling with cholera or typhoid. Secondly, the consistency of kulfi was questionable at best. And even if you found packaged ice creams, surprise, surprise, it wasn't ice cream at all. What you got was a vegetable fat, not milk. What you got was artificial mango color, not real mango. And the preservatives were so strong that your taste buds would never trust ice cream again. In all of Bombay that time, or Mumbai now, a city of millions, there was just one iconic ice cream parlor, and that was Yankee Doodle. If you didn't live nearby, you had no chance of eating real ice cream. But in this frozen wasteland of fakery, Rajni Bector saw an opportunity. She was not going to make ice cream with vegetable fat. She was not going to use artificial colors. She was going to make ice creams with just 3 ingredients: milk, fruit, and sugar. That's it, and people loved it. Within months, Cremica ice cream became a sensation in Ludhiana. Local politicians were ordering her ice creams for their parties. Businessmen were recommending her to their friends. And soon enough, Rajni's ice cream business was thriving. But Rajni did not stop there. She saw another opportunity: bread. You see, in the 1980s, bread in India was either too expensive or too low quality. So in 1985, Rajni set up a bread manufacturing unit in Punjab. She started with 5,000 loaves per day, and within just 4 years, by 1989, she was producing 10 times more, 50,000 loaves per day. 50,000 loaves. And this is when the Bector family realized something very important. They weren't just selling ice cream and bread, they were building trust. People trusted Cremica because it was fresh, it was real, and it was made with care. And this trust would soon open doors that nobody could have imagined. The year is 1996. The McDonald's is planning to enter India, and they have a problem. They needed someone to supply burger buns. Now, McDonald's doesn't just need any buns, they need buns that are soft, fresh, consistent, and produced at scale. And most importantly, they needed buns that can be delivered every single day to the hundreds of restaurants across India. So McDonald's started looking for suppliers. And one fine day, they received a letter from a small food processing company in Philor, Punjab. The letter is from Mrs. Bector's Food Specialties. Now at this point, McDonald's could have laughed at this letter. They could have said, "Who is Mrs. Bector? Where we are McDonald's, we need global suppliers." But they did not. McDonald's gave Mrs. Bector a chance. They asked for samples. They tested the buns, they visited the facility, and they were impressed. So impressed that they did not just ask Mrs. Bector's to supply buns. They asked them to supply liquid condiments, breading, and batter as well. And McDonald's did something even more remarkable. They helped Mrs. Bector set up the most modern, state-of-the-art production facility. They brought in experts from Quaker Oats for liquid condiments. They brought in experts from curry ingredients for batter and breading. They brought in experts from Northeast Foods USA for buns. And by 1996, Mrs. Bector officially became the sole supplier of burger buns to McDonald's India. This was a game changer. You know why? Because the McDonald's partnership gave Mrs. Bector something that money can buy. The global standard training, the world-class processes, and most importantly, credibility. And soon, other QSR chains started knocking on Mrs. Bector's door. Burger King wanted their buns. Domino's wanted their buns. KFC wanted their buns. Subway wanted their buns. And Mrs. Bector said yes to all of them. But here is where the story gets crazy. Because now Rajni Bector had two businesses running in parallel. She had Cremica, which was making biscuits, sauces, and desserts for retail customers, and she had Mrs. Bector's Food Specialties, which was supplying to QSR chains. And both the businesses were growing like crazy. So the question over here is, how did Mrs. Bector's manage to grow both these businesses without losing focus? Well, the answer lies in one word: specialization. You see, the most food companies in India try to do everything. They make biscuits, they make bread, they make sauces, they make noodles, they make everything. But Mrs. Bector's did something very different. They said, we will only do two things. We will make the best biscuits in India. We will make the best bakery products in India. No shortcuts and no diversification. Just keep specialization. And this focus allowed them to invest heavily in R&D, in quality control, in manufacturing, and in distribution. And the results speak for themselves. By 2010, Cremica was the third largest ketchup maker in India. They were the largest manufacturer of vegetarian mayonnaise in India. And they were the sole supplier of buns, condiments, batter, and breading to McDonald's India. But you know what, guys? The biggest breakthrough was yet to come. Because in 2020, something happened that would change Mrs. Bector's forever. Goldman Sachs, one of the largest investment banks, had invested in Mrs. Bector's earlier. But in 2010, Goldman Sachs decided to exit because a global recession had hit the world. And they sold their shares to Motilal Oswal for just rupees 44 crores. At that time, nobody thought this was a good deal. But Motilal Oswal saw something that others did not. They saw a company with incredible fundamentals, a strong brand, and a massive growth potential. And over the next 10 years, Mrs. Bector's would prove them right. The company opened a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Rajpura, Punjab. They expanded their product range. They entered new markets. And by 2020, Mrs. Bector's was ready to go public, right in the midst of COVID. On December 15, 2020, Mrs. Bector's Food Specialties launched its IPO. The IPO price was set at rupees 286 to rupees 288 per share. And the response was insane. The IPO was oversubscribed by almost 200 times. Retail investors wanted it, institutional investors wanted it, and everyone wanted a piece of Mrs. Bector's. And on the listing day itself, the stock opened at over 500 rupees. Within a year, by November 2021, the market cap had already crossed rupees 2,500 crores. And as of today, 4 years since the IPO, Mrs. Bector's Food Specialties has a market cap of rupees 8,200 crores. generating 1,900 crores in annual revenue with a profit of rupees 143 crores. The company is producing 2.4 million buns every single day. They export to 64 countries across 6 continents. And Rajni Bector, the woman who started this journey with just rupees 300, was awarded Padma Shri in 2021, India's 4th highest civilian award. And this is a power of perseverance. And this is a power of focus. And this is a power of building trust. Now the question is, how did Mrs. Bector beat giants like Britannia and Parle? Because let's be honest, Britannia has a 31% market share in the Indian biscuit market. Parle has a 29% market share. ITC has around 12%. Together, these 3 companies control over 70% of the market. So how does a small player like Mrs. Bector's compete? Well, the answer lies in strategy. You see, Mrs. Bector did not try to beat Britannia in the mass market. They didn't try to beat Parle-G in the 5 rupee biscuit segment. Instead, they focus on 2 very specific segments. Number 1, the premium biscuits under the Cremica brand. They're biscuits like bourbon, crackers, and the digestives that are sold at a slightly higher price point. And number 2, premium bakery products under the English Oven brand. These are products like artisan breads, buns, pizza bases and cakes. And this strategy worked beautifully because while Britannia and Parle were fighting for the mass market, Mrs. Bector's quietly built a loyal customer base in the premium segment. And today, English Oven is one of the best-selling premium bakery brands in India. But you know what's even more brilliant? Mrs. Bector's did not put all their eggs in one basket. They diversified their revenue streams. 50% of the revenue comes from bakery products like buns and bread, which they supply to QSR chains. 40% of the revenue comes from biscuits, which they sell to retail stores, and 10% of the revenue comes from exports. This diversification makes Mrs. Bector's incredibly resilient. If one segment slows down, the other segment keeps the company going. And this brings us to the best part of the episode. What are the sort of business lessons that we need to learn from the rise of Mrs. Bector's food specialties? Lesson number 1, you don't need an MBA to build a billion-dollar company. In this case, Rajni Bector was a housewife with no formal business education. But she had 3 things that matter more than any degree: passion, focus, and courage to start. In fact, there is a 4th thing, which is her wonderful children who were very active in the business right from when she wanted to start. She started with rupees 300 rupees. Today, her company is worth rupees 8,300 crores. So if you have an idea, don't wait for the perfect degree or the perfect time. Just start. Lesson number 2, partnerships can be more valuable than profits. In this case, the McDonald's partnership wasn't just about revenue. It was about learning. McDonald's trained Mrs. Bector's in global standards, quality control, and operational excellence. And this training helped Mrs. Bector's win contracts with every other QSR chain in India. So always remember, sometimes the right partner is more valuable than immediate profits. Lesson number 3, focus beats diversification. In this case, while other food companies were trying to do everything, Mrs. Bector's focused on just 2 things: biscuits and bakery. And this focus allowed them to become the best in these categories. If you're building a business, don't try to be everything to everyone. Pick one thing, master it, and then move to the next. And finally, the lesson number 4, quality and trust are the ultimate moats. In this case, Mrs. Bector's built their entire brand on one promise: fresh, real, and made with care. They use real milk, not vegetable fat. They use real fruit, not artificial flavors. And this commitment to quality builds trust. And trust is the most powerful competitive advantage in the world. Because once customers trust you, they will stay with you forever. This was the incredible story of Mrs. Bector's food specialties. From a backyard ice cream business to a rupees 8,300 crore empire. From 300 rupees to a Padma Shri award. From Ludhiana to 64 countries worldwide. This is the story of Rajni Bector, a woman who proved that with passion, focus, and courage, anyone can build something extraordinary. And I just hope you learned something valuable from this research note. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make the YouTube happy. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode of Research Notes.